Chapter 229. Considering all this, Yang Kai's expression sank, secretly regretting his actions just now. He didn't know if that scene had fallen into the eyes of the others. If it had been seen by others, it would have been troublesome. However, for a trivial healing pill to become a rare item was something he could never have imagined. "Brother Qin, can you come and talk to me?" Suddenly, Wu Chengyi called out. Chen Shueshu nodded and smiled at Yang Kai. "Brother Yang, please wait a moment, I'll be right back." Yang Kai nodded. After Chen Shueshu left, Yang Kai looked around and found that many people were looking at him with great interest. This group of people had not seen a new face for a long time. The great Han cultivator who had been scattered outside had most likely died, so now that they saw Yang Kai, a newcomer, they were naturally curious. Especially since Yang Kai was alone, none of them could understand how a single person could escape the pursuit of the Tianlang dynasty cultivator. Yang Kai glanced around and saw the 4 girls from the 10,000 Flower Palace nodding slightly to him. These 4 girls had entered Nether Mountain with Yang Kai, and although they had never spoken to each other before, they had at least been in the same boat. Now that they had fallen into such a predicament, they naturally felt closer to each other. Yang Kai responded with a smile. While he was observing, 2 people suddenly stood up. The one in the lead was a woman as delicate and beautiful as a flower. She was tall and voluptuous, wearing a dark green dress that was tight around her body, outlining her fiery figure. She had a voluptuous bosom, perky buttocks, slender legs, and 2 jade-like arms that were exposed. Her skin was like white jade, sparkling with an attractive luster like porcelain. Her fingers were long and slender, and her 10 fingernails were painted with a bright red color, giving her a flirtatious beauty. What was impossible to ignore was the pair of bountiful breasts on this woman's chest, full and round, quite impressive. Of all the women Yang Kai had seen, only Lan Chudai could compare to her. She smiled sweetly, twisting her waist like a beautiful snake. Leisurely walking over, a pair of clear eyes stared at Yang Kai for a moment as a meaningful smile appeared on her face. Behind her was a man who looked like an iron tower. He had a bear-like waist and a tiger-like back. He was abnormally strong, and his body was several times larger than anyone present. His chiseled face was cold and callous. There was a half-foot-long scar on his cheek. Blood and flesh were overturned, making it look like it was full of killing intent. His eyes were like lightning, emitting a cold and merciless aura. Regardless of whether it was the woman or the man, they both gave off a bloodthirsty feeling of decisiveness. Su Xiaoyu's brow furrowed. "Are they coming here?" "I'm afraid so." Yang Kai also frowned. He realized that the beautiful woman had been staring at him and was walking towards him. "Little brother Yang, do you know them?" Su Xiaoyu asked puzzledly. Yang Kai shook his head in confusion. He had never seen these 2 people before. Although Ling Tai Su had told him the names of most of the sects and the strength of their disciples when they were at the lake was too big, and there were many people on the other side. Ling Tai Su had not been able to point them out, so Yang Kai really didn't know where these 2 people were from. Could it be because of the healing pills? Su Xiaoyu's expression changed. Yang Kai's face also sank. He couldn't help becoming vigilant. "Little brother Yang, you must not get into a dispute with them. These 2 are very strong." Su Xiaoyu anxiously exhorted, a trace of worry flashing across her face. "I'll try my best." Yang Kai nodded slightly. He didn't want to have any conflicts with the people here, but in this situation, if he were to act rashly, he would have to become enemies with these 2 people. It was tantamount to becoming an enemy of everyone here, and he was doomed to have a bad end. However, if these people insisted on bullying him, Yang Kai wouldn't back down. As the beautiful woman and the cold man approached, everyone's eyes were drawn to them, all of them wanting to know what this seemingly lascivious woman wanted to do. A moment later, the woman arrived in front of Yang Kai and looked down at him with a smile. Without saying a word, the man behind her looked even colder, his pair of eyes shooting daggers towards Yang Kai, as if he wanted to stare directly into Yang Kai's heart and soul. Yang Kai frowned. "Is there something you 2 want?" The woman didn't answer, instead looking at him very seriously. Immediately, she slowly leaned down, a slight smile appearing on her face as she moved her face closer to Yang Kai, her delicate nose twitching slightly. Yang Kai's expression suddenly became strange. He didn't feel the slightest murderous intent or malicious intent from this woman, but her current actions were really a bit confusing. The woman was like a puppy, constantly sniffing around Yang Kai's body, a few strands of hair falling behind her ears brushing past Yang Kai's neck and cheeks, causing him to feel a tingling sensation. A delicate fragrance lingered at the tip of Yang Kai's nose, like a fragrant musk, causing his mind to wander. At her high neckline, a pair of breathtaking snow-white peaks and deep cleavage appeared in Yang Kai's eyes, as well as two round and tender semicircles. Yang Kai involuntarily gulped, his throat faintly burning. "Hey, what are you doing?" Su Xiaoyu was dumbfounded, her cheeks blushing, her heart thumping wildly. This woman's actions were clearly a blatant provocation. Even the men who were sitting in meditation outside couldn't help but feel their hearts skip a beat. What more a young girl like Su Xiaoyu? She was sitting right next to Yang Kai at the moment, so she could see more clearly than anyone else. The sound of gulping echoed from all directions, causing many young cultivators to feel envious. They had all fantasized about this voluptuous woman with a voluptuous figure, but because of the towering man behind her, they only dared to think about it but didn't dare to be presumptuous. Usually it was fine to tease a few words, but when had anyone ever been so close to this woman? But now, this woman seemed to be itching to throw herself at Yang Kai and take him as she pleased. This scene was really too hot and alluring, especially in this dangerous place where danger lurked everywhere, and after experiencing such a fierce battle, it made one's blood boil even more. "Girl." Yang Kai felt uncomfortable. Although he didn't feel any murderous intent, this woman was too strange. They had never met before, so for her to act so intimately was a bit inexplicable. "Shoo." The woman smiled sweetly, stretching out a jade finger and placing it on Yang Kai's lips, suppressing his doubts. She continued to unscrupulously sniff around, causing Yang Kai's ears to turn red. "Little brother Yang." Su Xiaoyu couldn't stand it anymore and kicked Yang Kai. "Hee hee." When the woman saw this scene, she giggled and stood up, staring at Yang Kai with great interest, a strange and puzzled look involuntarily appearing on her delicate face as she stared at Yang Kai in a daze, her beautiful eyes filled with confusion. "What do you think?" The woman suddenly looked back at the towering man and asked. "Murderous chi, blood chi." The man said coolly. "N." The woman nodded slightly, suddenly covering her mouth and giggling. "Little brother, please don't blame us. It's just that our senior sister felt a sense of intimacy from you, so we took the liberty to disturb you." "Umph." Su Xiaoyu snorted and turned her head away. She obviously didn't believe such childish words. Yang Kai also didn't believe it. The woman still smiled. "This reason is indeed not convincing, but I'm not lying to you. In fact, even I don't understand why." "Nice to meet you. My name is Yi Qing Si. This is my junior brother Zhou Ba." "Yang Kai." "Ah, it's little brother Yang." Yi Qing Si pursed her lips into a smile, her expression flirtatious as she continued. "We senior sister and junior brother are from the Endless Sea Islands Azura sect. I'm afraid little brother Yang has never heard of us." Yang Kai's expression changed slightly, but he quickly hid it. He suddenly understood why this woman had come to find him for no reason. Endless Sea Islands Azura sect. A first-class great force. Since the two of them were the elite disciples of the Shura sect, they must have practiced some kind of secret technique of the Shura sect. The Azura sect's hallowed artifact, the Azura sword, was on him at this moment, so perhaps there was some kind of connection between them. No wonder she said there was a sense of intimacy. Although this realization dawned on him, Yang Kai didn't dare reveal it. Now that this woman had a sense of intimacy with him, if she found out that the Azura sect's hallowed artifact was on him, that sense of intimacy would immediately turn into killing intent. There was no doubt about this. Pretending to be ignorant, Yang Kai asked curiously, "Endless Sea Islands?" Yi Qing Si nodded. At the southernmost tip of the Great Han Dynasty, on the Endless Sea, there are many sects. Little brother Yang lives inland, so I'm afraid you don't know much about them. Is it only your family that came? Yang Kai showed interest in a timely manner. He still had the hallowed artifact of another great force in his body. Yi Qingxi smiled. There are also people from Gemini Island, but there's only one left, over there. Saying so, she pointed in a certain direction. Yang Kai glanced over and couldn't help feeling relieved. Fortunately, the people from the Falling Flowers spirit religion hadn't come, otherwise he would have felt a sense of intimacy for no reason. Where does little brother Yang come from? Yi Qingxi asked. Obviously the doubts in her heart had not been dispelled and she wanted to get to the bottom of this. Feeling a sense of intimacy with a stranger for no reason, especially one who was a senior sister and a junior brother, was naturally suspicious. High Heaven Pavilion. There was nothing to hide here, so Yang Kai continued, maybe it's because the martial skills I cultivate contain a bit of slaughter intent, coupled with the fact that I've been stained with a lot of blood recently, that's why the two of you feel that way. So that's how it is. Yi Qingxi lightly pursed her lips, nodded lightly, and smiled charmingly. Meeting here is fate. If little brother Yang wants to act with us, don't worry too much. Just follow elder sister, I'll protect you, hee. Thank you for your kindness. Yang Kai hesitated for a moment, but just as he was about to say that he would leave, Wu Chengyi and Qin Shueshu walked over. Enough with the small talk. Wu Chengyi's expression was cold as he arrived in front of Yang Kai and bowed his head. I heard Brother Qin say that you are a disciple of High Heaven Pavilion. Yang Kai's brow furrowed, showing a slight displeasure. Wu Chengyi gave off a domineering feeling, and his tone also contained a kind of overbearing arrogance that couldn't be refuted. Yang Kai nodded. Chapter 230. How strong is your cultivation? Wu Chengyi continued to ask. Separation and reunion 7th stage. As soon as these words came out, Yang Kai clearly saw a trace of disdain and impatience in Wu Chengyi's eyes. This was not surprising after all. Of the cultivators who were still alive, which one of them had not reached the true element boundary? Yang Kai's separation and reunion 7th stage cultivation was indeed low. Azura Sect's Yi Qingxi's pretty face also showed a touch of surprise. Obviously she had not expected Yang Kai's strength to be so low. Originally, she had thought that Yang Kai, who had survived for more than half a year in this dangerous isolated world without dying, would at least have reached Yuan Qi. But Yang Kai saying he was only at separation and reunion 7th stage was simply shocking. Little brother Yang, are you really only at separation and reunion 7th stage? Yi Qingxi asked. Yang Kai nodded, urging his Yuan Qi, and when the fluctuations of Yuan Qi spread out, his realm was immediately clear. Many of the surrounding martial artists were surprised, but soon after, waves of chuckles could be heard. What are you laughing at? Su Xiaoyu felt bad for Yang Kai and couldn't help but scold them. A group of blind fools. Although this little brother Yang was only at the separation and reunion 7th stage, his combat strength was much stronger than many Yuan Qi cultivators. In front of her and Qin Shueshu, Yang Kai had killed 2 5th-order monster beast and 4 4th-order monster beast in less than a dozen breaths of time. Although there were various reasons why he was able to accomplish such a feat, there was no doubt about his strength. No one knew Yang Kai's combat strength better than Su Xiaoyu and Qin Shueshu. Having such a master join them was their group's blessing. It was ridiculous that they did not know this and even dared to laugh at Yang Kai. Su Xiaoyu was annoyed, but she did not say anything. She was not a stupid girl. How could she expose Yang Kai's strength? You're only at the separation and reunion 7th stage? How did you survive for so long? Yi Qingxi asked with a puzzled expression. I accidentally fell into a valley. It took me half a year to climb out. Yang Kai shrugged. As soon as he said this, the laughter of the crowd became even louder. Xu Zhao's chest heaved up and down. However, he was powerless to refute. Wu Chengyi's expression was indifferent as he bluntly said, her strength is too low, she won't be of much use. Since she was brought back by Brother Qin, she should be able to act together with Brother Qin and his brother-sister. At least she should be able to contain 1 to 2 4th-order monster beast, so she's not completely useless. Saying so, Wu Chengyi hurriedly turned and left. She didn't want to talk to Yang Kai anymore. I'm not staying. Yang Kai frowned. After coming out of seclusion this time, he only wanted to find someone to inquire about the current situation, so he was brought here by Chen Shueshu. Now that he had a clear understanding of the situation, he naturally had to leave. Moving together with so many people would be too obvious a target. It would be fine if they were all from the same sect. They looked after each other sincerely, but who knew if they were of the same mind? His own cultivation was the lowest in this group, so once he encountered any danger, he would likely be used as cannon fodder. How could Yang Kai put his life in the hands of others? If he acted alone, although there were dangers and variables, Yang Kai was confident that with his current strength, as long as he was careful, there would be no problems. Even if he was surrounded by the Tianlang dynasty group, using his Yang inflammation wings, he could easily escape, so why should he stick around with these people? Besides that, Yang Kai also had another layer of concern. That was Yi Qingxi and Zhou Ba in front of him. If the existence of the Azura sword was discovered by them, it would definitely be troublesome. The possibility was very low, but he still had to be careful. Whether it was his own will or the current situation, Yang Kai was not allowed to be with this group of people. What did you say? Wu Qingyi's footsteps paused and turned to look at Yang Kai. Narrowing his eyes, he asked, "You want to act alone?" Yang Kai nodded. "Brother Yang." Chen Shueshu's expression changed as he stepped forward and whispered, "It's too dangerous for you to act alone. If you stay with us, brother and sister, we can look after each other. It will be much safer than if you go alone." His words were spoken with sincerity. There was not the slightest trace of hypocrisy. Yi Qingxi also tried to persuade him, "Brother Yang, don't try to be brave, you should stay. Although this is only the first time we've met, Brother Yang really likes you. However, Big Sister truly feels that you are very amiable. In all these years, no one has ever given us such a feeling. We don't want anything bad to happen to you. Zhou Ba, don't you think so?" The tower-like man's expression was cold as he nodded slightly. "Many thanks for your kindness." Yang Kai chuckled, "But I'm used to being lazy, having me work under someone else is a bit awkward. Everyone has their own ambitions, there's no need to force yourself." Wu Qingyi turned around and folded his hands behind his back. "But before you leave behind the pills you have on you." Yang Kai and Chen Shueshu's expression became cold. The scene of Yang Kai taking out a healing pill had fallen into the eyes of the others. Chen Shueshu frowned. "Brother Wu, isn't this a bit inappropriate?" Wu Qingyi faintly replied, "What's wrong with it? He's just a separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivator. He will soon die under the attacks of Tianlang. At that time, those healing pills will only fall into the enemy's hands. It's better to leave them for us to use." Su Xiaoyu sneered, "Wu Qingyi, you're just robbing us." Yi Qingxi frowned as she and Zhou Ba both stared at Wu Qingyi with displeasure, but neither of them said anything. Wu Qingyi sneered, "Robbing us? Look around, there are so many people who are injured. Without healing pills, their strength will be reduced to a certain extent. Only by quickly healing can we protect ourselves from the attacks of Tianlang and those bastards. I'm not taking his pills for myself, I'm taking them for all of us." Chen Shueshu angrily shouted, "Wu Qingyi, don't speak so righteously. If you really want to rob us, don't blame my brother and sister for not agreeing." Wu Qingyi glanced over at Chen Shueshu and proudly said, "So what if you don't agree? Do you want to fight with me?" The scene instantly became tense, and the smell of gunpowder filled the air. "I also don't think it's a good idea." Yi Qingxi smiled sweetly, her beautiful eyes staring towards Wu Qingyi. "This is already the act of a bandit. Wu Qingyi, you're an elite disciple of a great sect, you don't need to be so domineering, right?" The latter narrowed his eyes, seemingly quite afraid of Yi Qingxi, hesitating for a moment before chuckling. "Since that's the case, let's let everyone decide. Let's see if it's better to leave those pills behind or take them away." "He should leave them behind." Someone immediately echoed, "Brother Wu is right, with his low strength, I'm afraid he'll die within a few days. Leaving those pills on him will only benefit those bastards from Tianlang." As soon as this statement came out, many people nodded in agreement. Another person quickly added, "Brother Chen, please don't be angry, I'll say something fair. This High Heaven Pavilion brother's strength is really too low. If he is willing to stay and help us, then we can leave those pills with him. If someone else is seriously injured, I'm sure he won't be stingy. But since he's so stubborn and wants to act on his own, I feel that he should leave the pills behind. Everyone's opinions were enough to confuse Gold, and most people actually agreed with Wu Qingyi's approach, causing Chen Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu's expressions to become quite ugly. Chen Shueshu sneered, "Do you really think this is the right thing to do? If your life-saving pills are taken away, what will you do? What will you do?" Many people couldn't help but frown. Although they knew this approach was immoral, everyone's healing pills had already been used up, so if they had one more bottle, they would be able to take it. Perhaps they would be able to save a few more lives at a critical moment. Don't force what you don't want others to do to you. A cold voice suddenly called out. Yang Kai looked up and saw a young girl from the 10,000 Flower Palace nodding slightly towards him. Wu Qingyi snorted. He hadn't expected so many people to speak up for Yang Kai. With no other choice, he said, "If that's the case, this Wu will give him a choice. Don't say I'm bullying others, or I'm bullying the weak." Coldly glaring at Yang Kai, he said, "Stay with us, or leave those pills behind, it's up to you." "Ah." Yang Kai chuckled, stared at Wu Qingyi and slowly said, "I choose the latter." Yang Kai didn't want to act with this group of people, and seeing Wu Qingyi act so arrogantly, he felt even more disgusted. How could he stay and be bullied like this? But with so many people staring at him, if he didn't leave behind those pills, those who had just tried to pressure him would definitely not agree. "This is your own choice." Wu Qingyi stretched out his hand towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai just shook his head and smiled contemptuously. Wu Qingyi's expression changed. "What do you mean? I only said I would leave those pills behind, I never said I would give them to you. Don't think too highly of yourself." Yang Kai sneered, reaching into his sleeve. Taking out a bottle of healing pills, he tossed it to Chen Shueshu. Not turning his eyes away, he coldly said, "Brother Chen, I'll leave those pills with you." Chen Shueshu caught the pills. His brow furrowed in anger. He had brought Yang Kai here, but now he was being bullied by so many people. How could he remain calm? Taking a deep breath, Chen Shueshu said, "Brother Yang, rest assured, who should take these pills, brother knows." In other words, those who had just stood on Wu Qingyi's side shouldn't even think about this bottle of healing pills. Yang Kai nodded, cupped his fists, and said, "Until we meet again, I hope we can meet again." Saying so, he launched his movement skill and flew away like a meteor. "I'm afraid we won't see each other again." Wu Qingyi coldly snorted, taking back his hand that had stiffened for a long time, his face pale as he shouted, "If you've rested well, let's set off now. Tian Lang's group will definitely launch another attack soon. If we don't leave now it will be too late." The 30 or so people quickly gathered, and under Wu Qingyi's command, they carefully walked through the jungle. No one noticed that a person at the very back of the group had silently disappeared. Only after the group was far away did he decide on a direction and hurriedly chase after them. That direction was the one Yang Kai had left. Although Yang Kai had left behind a bottle of pills before leaving, how could a disciple who had come here for life experience only have a single bottle of healing pills? What's more, Yang Kai had said before that he had accidentally fallen into a mountain valley and had spent more than half a year searching for a way out. Since that was the case, he must not have encountered any battles during this time. If he had not fought, he would not have been injured, and if he had not been injured, he would not have needed these healing pills. Therefore, he must still have some pills on him. This person had received Wu Qingyi's order to intercept Yang Kai and take the pills he had on him. Wu Qingyi's actions were watertight, only sending a single person would naturally not attract any attention. Chapter 231. Inside the jungle, Yang Kai's figure was like a nimble ape, leaping up and down from the treetops, his body light as a swallow, only bringing a slight breeze with him, not even causing a single leaf to fall. With a dignified expression, Yang Kai was secretly vigilant of his surroundings while planning his next move. Although the fight with Wu Qingyi's group was not very pleasant, it had not affected him in the slightest. His goal had already been achieved. However, he had not expected that the news he had obtained would be so serious. Over the years, the disciples of the various sects who entered this isolated world for life experience had all acted independently. Even if they occasionally joined forces, it was impossible for them to merge on such a large scale. But this time, because of the appearance of the Tianlang dynasty's cultivator, the Great Han dynasty's cultivator had completely united. This was something that had never happened before, and it had already risen to the level of a life-or-death battle between the younger generation of the two countries. Who would win or lose in the end was not something Yang Kai could control, but after all, he was the Great Han dynasty's cultivator, so to speak. He did not want the Tianlang dynasty's people to act so domineering here. If it weren't for those two from the Azura sect, and if it weren't for Wu Qingyi's arrogance, Yang Kai would have stayed behind and joined Qin Shueshu and the others in this battle. Thinking about these things now was useless, so Yang Kai quickly got rid of the distracting thoughts in his mind. Suddenly, his body came to a stop as he glanced back, a strange expression appearing on his face. Standing in place for a moment, Yang Kai grinned and landed on the ground, quickly hiding behind a large tree and concealing his aura. A moment later, a figure flew past him, and in a flash, Yang Kai was able to clearly see this person's face and dress. This person carried a long sword on his back and wore a blue robe. He was probably in his early 20s and had a cold expression on his face as he flew in the direction Yang Kai had just left. Yang Kai coldly snorted as a murderous intent flashed across his eyes. This person was the one who had cleaned up the battlefield before. The cultivator who collected the blood beads and the long sword he carried on his back clearly explained his identity. He was a disciple of the Nine-Star Sword faction and should also be Wu Qingyi's junior brother. He didn't move with that group of people, but chased after him. His intention was quite obvious. Yang Kai's expression turned cold. Before, he did not want to have any conflict with Wu Qingyi. Yang Kai was also worried that Qin Shueshu and Su Xiaoyu would be in a difficult situation, but now that they had sent people to chase after him, there was no reason for him to back down. Even a person made of clay had a temper, not to mention that Yang Kai was not a pushover either. Suddenly, the sound of clothes fluttering could be heard from the front again. The person from the Nine-Star Sword sect had actually returned. While he was running at high speed, his eyes were looking around. He couldn't help but mutter, "Strange, where did it go?" He was a master of the Yuanqi realm, so he believed that his speed was much faster than Yang Kai's. He had been chasing Yang Kai all the way here, but he actually lost him. Since he had no choice but to return to investigate, naturally he would pay more attention. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling puzzled, thinking that this person really did have some skill when it came to tracking. He had been very careful along the way, not leaving any traces behind, but this person was still able to see through him. A moment later, the Nine-Star Sword sect disciple actually stopped about 300 meters away from Yang Kai, his brow furrowed as he looked around. Yang Kai wasn't in a hurry. Hiding behind a tree, he secretly observed this person. After a long time, a faint smile suddenly appeared at the corner of this person's mouth. He reached behind him, and with a clang, his sword was unsheathed. With a sword in hand, this person's momentum suddenly soared, and his whole body became as sharp as a sword. A disciple of the Nine-Star Sword sect. Sure enough, he had some skill. This kind of momentum alone was not something an ordinary Yuanqi cultivator could possess. "I know you're nearby." Qi Jianxing's lips curled into a meaningful smile as he raised his sword and shouted in a firm tone, "Come out obediently and I won't embarrass you." Yang Kai frowned. He didn't know whether this Nine-Star Sword sect disciple had really found something or if he was just deliberately mystifying things. Qi Jianxing then said, "Boy, I admire your courage. In this world, besides the young lords of the 8 great families, I'm afraid you're the only one who dares to speak to my eldest brother like that. Just for this, I promise not to hurt you, as long as you hand over all the pills on you and let me complete my brother's task." Seeing that there was no movement, Qi Jianxing showed an impatient expression and threatened, "Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. When I find your hiding place, it won't be so easy to talk to. While I'm in a good mood now, we can still discuss it." Still no response. Qi Jianxing no longer spoke, his sword trembling as a clear and melodious sound rang out. Suddenly, Kai Yang felt a faint chill coming from all around him. His expression couldn't help but change, and he quickly leapt upwards. Sword Qi threads invisible to the naked eye crisscrossed and immediately cut down all the trees within a radius of 300 feet, neatly, all of them falling to the ground. Yang Kai's face was filled with shock. Only now did he truly understand the ruthlessness of this 9-star sword sect disciple. Just now, when he spoke to him, it seemed like he was deliberately mystifying things and stalling for time, but in fact, he was secretly harboring evil intentions. Those invisible threads of sword Qi had already spread out in the surroundings while he was speaking. When he was almost done, he would activate the sword Qi. As long as he was still hiding here, there would be nowhere to hide. Fortunately, he had sensed something was wrong and rushed up, otherwise, he would have been cut by the sword Qi threads and would have been seriously injured. Yang Kai still had some lingering fear in his heart, but he didn't dare underestimate this person. The 9-star sword sect was known as the #1 force in the central capital under the 8 great families, and its elite disciples were not just for show. Found you! Qi Jianxing turned around and gloomily smiled at Yang Kai, who was falling from midair, his eyes filled with ridicule. However, he didn't attack again and instead just calmly stared at Yang Kai. Facing a separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivator, Qi Jianxing naturally had no fear. This level of opponent was only from a second-class sect. He could kill him with a single sword strike. Your Qi concealment technique is quite exquisite. Qi Jianxing wasn't stingy with his praise. Where did you learn it from? He was very interested in Yang Kai's concealment technique. In this dangerous place, with such a skill, he would have a better chance of survival. This was also the main reason why he didn't immediately attack Yang Kai. Yang Kai grinned. No matter how exquisite it is, you still saw through it. Qi Jianxing slowly shook his head, a trace of admiration and greed flashing across his eyes. I didn't see through it. It's just that you were hostile to me, causing my sword Qi to react a little autonomously. In fact, I only knew you were hiding nearby, but I didn't know where you were hiding. Being able to force you out in one go can be considered a stroke of luck. He explained to himself, and then immediately smiled coldly. You're a smart person. Since I'm standing here, you should know my intentions. Hand over all the pills you have on you and then tell me how to conceal yourself, and I'll spare your life. Yang Kai sneered. You think you can eat me? Qi Jianxing was stunned for a moment before he laughed. What do you think? A trivial separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivator, who hadn't even broken through to the Yuan Qi boundary, could he really threaten him? After a moment, his smile faded, and he nodded slightly. Fine, after I cripple you, naturally I can force out the cultivation method. As he spoke, the long sword in his hand flickered. With a clang, several sword rays suddenly appeared in front of him, arranged in the shape of a fan. The sword rays were suffused with a cold light, and each sword ray contained a huge killing power. Go! Qi Jianxing's name was Sword, and the sword skill he cultivated was extraordinary, so when he attacked, several sword waves shot out like lightning towards Yang Kai. Feeling the threat of these sword waves, Yang Kai quickly retreated, his expression changing. Worthy of being a disciple of a first-class sect. Possessing such strength at such a young age. In less than a breath of time, the sword waves arrived in front of Yang Kai and directly pierced through his body. Qi Jianxing frowned. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. He didn't want to kill Yang Kai now, he still wanted to interrogate him about the cultivation method of his concealment skill. So just now, he had held back and didn't use too powerful of a move. In the next moment, Qi Jianxing's eyes lit up, and he flicked his sword again, slashing to the side. Another sword wave, like a rainbow, broke through the air. Yang Kai had just revealed himself when his opponent's second attack arrived, forcing him to use his movement skill again to avoid this blow. Good. Qi Jianxing's expression was filled with excitement as he continued to praise Yang Kai. After the first 2 moves, he didn't attack again and instead stared at Yang Kai excitedly. Your movement skill is also quite good. A separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivator can actually move so quickly. If I can learn it, I will be like a tiger that has grown wings. You must give it to me later. Yang Kai took a deep breath, stood firm, and smiled. Since you want my concealment skill and movement skill so much, why don't we make a deal? What kind of deal? Qi Jianxing raised his brow. I'll give you what you want, and you teach me a few of 9-star sword sects sword skills. How about it? You want to learn the sword? Qi Jianxing looked at Yang Kai strangely, looking him up and down, but couldn't find any trace of a sword on his body. If he didn't have a weapon, why would he want to learn the sword? Yes, everyone takes what they need, there's no harm in that. Yang Kai nodded. Although he didn't have a sword in his hand right now, he still had the Azura sword in his body. In terms of the exquisiteness and lethality of sword skills, the 9-star sword sect could be said to be the undisputed number one. Even the 8 great families couldn't deny this point. What a joke! How could my 9-star sword sect's sword skills be taught to outsiders? Qi Jianxing sneered. What's more, the difference in strength between you and me is quite large. I can easily take your life. Why would I need to make a deal with you? Yang Kai grinned meaningfully, the arrogance and wickedness in his bones aroused, grinding his teeth as he said, I'll say the same thing. Do you think you can defeat me? But my movement skill is quite exquisite. I'll explain it to you later. Qi Jianxing coldly snorted, no longer using his sword. He knew that his sword couldn't do anything to Yang Kai, so as he spoke, he swung his sword and rushed towards Yang Kai. Chapter 232. Qi Jianxing's figure was like a rainbow piercing through the sun. Wrapped in sword light, he arrived in front of Yang Kai, the long sword in his hand forming a curtain of sword light that enveloped Yang Kai, sealing off the surrounding space. Clanging sounds rang out incessantly, as if someone was playing a lute in the void. Sharp whistling sounds filled the air as tiny sword qi visible to the naked eye crisscrossed, wrapping Yang Kai up. Cold light flashed as Yang Kai's expression became more dignified than ever, fiercely urging his yuan qi, his whole body exuding a threatening heat, his palms bursting with yuan qi as he fiercely pushed outwards. The 2 yuan qi collided, and a loud explosion rang out mid-air, instantly annihilating most of the hundreds of sword qi. Qi Jianxing's expression became cold as he shouted, You overestimate yourself. With a wave of his sword, the remaining sword qi converged into a single point, condensing into the shape of a long sword before slashing down towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed as he opened his hand and forced a drop of yang liquid out of his body. Under the guidance of his will, it transformed into a blood-red shield, blocking in front of him. With a prng sound, the sword qi hit the blood-red shield, causing it to ripple and crack to appear, but it was not damaged. On the contrary, Qi Jianxing's attack had disappeared. In the blink of an eye, Yang Kai raised his blood-red shield in front of him and leapt towards Qi Jianxing. The latter let out a roar and quickly retreated, Yang Kai in hot pursuit. Both of them moved as fast as lightning, one using his exquisite movement skill while the other using his profound cultivation. In terms of speed, they were actually evenly matched. The 2 figures intertwined. Both unleashed their ferocious killing moves. Qi Jianxing's expression was slightly stunned, never having expected that this second-class sect cultivator, who was only a separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivator, would be able to display such strength, making him unable to take him down. Feeling annoyed, Qi Jianxing's hands became more and more vigorous, his long sword danced in the air, the 3-inch long sword qi on the tip of his sword like a snake emerging from its hole. His moves were constantly changing. Strange and unpredictable. The trees around them fell down one by one. Wherever the 2 of them passed, sand and stones flew everywhere. The battle was extremely fierce. In just 10 breaths of time, they had exchanged 30 moves, and neither side was able to gain the upper hand. But in this battle, Qi Jianxing had the absolute advantage. 8 out of 10 moves were on the offensive. With a sneer, Qi Jianxing's long sword flickered out a sword flower and pointed it towards Yang Kai's blood-red shield. Kacha! With a crisp sound, the blood-red shield, It finally could not withstand such a high-intensity attack and shattered. Seeing this, Yang Kai's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly jumped out of Qi Jianxing's attack range, but how could his opponent give him this opportunity? Qi Jianxing's sword, as if Qi's sword, directly wrapped Yang Kai's arm. Yang Yang's arms close. Yang Kai shouted angrily, and his Yuan Qi erupted. With the help of the Yuan Qi's defense, he did not retreat, but advanced instead. He threw a fierce punch, and a raging flame appeared on his fist. The scorching heat distorted the air. Sensing the terrifying killing power contained in this punch, Qi Jianxing was horrified. He pointed his long sword at Yang Kai's shoulder, piercing 3 inches into it, and used the rebound force. He quickly retreated. However, he was still a little too late. Yang Kai's flaming sun's threefold blast had already erupted. Thump 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 thump. Qi Jianxing retreated more than 10 steps. At the same time, he activated his Yuan Qi to neutralize the Yuan Qi that had invaded his body. After a long while, Qi Jianxing's face turned pale, and he took a deep breath. The flaming sun's threefold blast, which had always been successful, was completely neutralized by him and did not hurt him at all. Looking back at Kai Yang, the clothes on his right arm had been shredded to pieces by the long sword. His exposed arm was covered with countless tiny lines of blood. In an instant, his entire arm had been dyed red, making him look extremely terrifying. While Qi Jianxing neutralized the flaming sun's threefold blast, Yang Kai also let out a light sigh, shaking his arm and burning away the sword qi that had invaded his body. Heh. Qi Jianxing's cold eyes flashed as he stared fixedly at Yang Kai. A trivial separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivator actually has such strength. Admirable. As he spoke, he pointed his long sword towards Yang Kai. You are the most powerful separation and reunion boundary cultivator I have ever seen. The purity of your Yuan Qi is no less than that of an ordinary Yuan Qi cultivator, even more so than mine. But a poor background is a poor background. My 9-star sword sects sword skills are infinitely powerful. How could someone like you possibly break them? His expression arrogant, his voice cold, Qi Jianxing said in a low voice. Just now, I only used 70% of my strength. If I had used my full strength, how long would you have been able to resist? Holding his sword with both hands, Qi Jianxing's expression became dignified as his Yuan Qi burst forth and shouted, Sword body! Asterisk. A loud sword cry rang out as the long sword in his hand trembled incessantly. A sharp aura erupted from his whole body like a peerless sword. The Yuan Qi around his body surged, and in an instant, his momentum reached its peak. His long hair fluttered in the wind as countless tiny short swords appeared around his body. Looking around, it was as if this person was being protected by 10,000 swords. The 9-star sword sect's sword skills were really mysterious. Yang Kai narrowed his eyes, his expression becoming extremely serious. Qi Jianxing had obviously become angry from being punched just now, so he decided to use this so-called sword body martial skill. With the protection of the 10,000 swords condensed from his Yuan Qi, Qi Jianxing was now like a hedgehog. If Yang Kai wanted to hit him with his fist, he would have to hurt himself first. Being able to force me to use my sword body, you should be proud. Qi Jianxing stared at Yang Kai coldly, his expression filled with arrogance and disdain, as if he was looking down on all living beings. Saying so, step by step, he slowly walked over. Yang Kai did not dare to neglect and quickly used his unyielding will. His separation and reunion boundary 7-stage aura instantly soared to the peak of the separation and reunion boundary. When he was at the separation and reunion boundary 1st stage, Yang Kai could use his unyielding will to temporarily reach the peak of his strength, but now at the 7th stage, it was still the same. From this, it could be seen that the Yuan Qi boundary was a huge watershed for a cultivator. When the Yuan Qi in the body completely transformed into Yuan Qi, the improvement of a cultivator's strength was not as simple as it seemed. Perceiving the rise in Yang Kai's aura, Qi Jianxing was stunned for a moment before immediately smiling and saying disdainfully, Good, so you didn't use your full strength just now. But now you're only at the peak of the separation and reunion boundary, you're not my opponent. Whether I'm your opponent or not, we'll know after we fight. Yang Kai sneered, waving his hand and summoning another blood-red shield. Qi Jianxing's expression became cold. Just now he had suffered a loss from the shield, unable to break it even after attacking it for a long time. Now seeing Yang Kai easily condense another one, he was furious. He shouted angrily, "Watch me break your garbage shield, then I'll teach you a good lesson." His pace quickened and he swung his sword. The Yuan Qi sword qi around his body shot out several times, fiercely attacking Yang Kai. Yang Kai dodged to the side. But the Yuan Qi sword qi was somewhat different from the previous one, actually able to follow Qi Jianxing's will. After hastily dodging 3 or 4 times, Qi Jianxing was already in front of Yang Kai. While laughing sinisterly, he used a powerful sword skill, fiercely chopping towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai raised his shield to block, but with a boom, the shield shook a few times, almost unsteady. Qi Jianxing laughed loudly. One move after another, without a hair's breadth, coupled with the unpredictable Yuan Qi sword qi, Yang Kai was forced to flee in panic, complaining incessantly. In the battle, both of them had used up their Yuan Qi. Such a high-intensity battle of life and death was a heavy burden on any cultivator's body. Physical strength was secondary, the use of Yuan Qi was the most important issue. A powerful cultivator who was skilled in battle would carefully calculate every bit of Yuan Qi and would use the least amount of effort to achieve the most damage. This was something that neither Yang Kai nor Qi Jianxing could do at the moment. Both of them had not reached that level of strength. Only by wantonly using Yuan Qi could they maintain their moves and momentum. In a short time, Yang Kai did not make a single move. He was always on the defense. But Qi Jianxing's killing intent was aroused. He kept ridiculing Yang Kai in the midst of his laughter, as if he was certain that he could defeat him. While dodging, Yang Kai seemed to be exhausted. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. Seeing such a good opportunity, how could Qi Jianxing miss it? The long sword in his hand cut horizontally, directly aiming for Yang Kai's neck. Yang Kai hurriedly raised his shield to block, but Qi Jianxing was already prepared. His long sword shook in midair, changing from a sweep to a stab. Yang Kai's shield also reacted, suddenly stabbing downwards. Qi Jianxing sneered. Yang Kai's eyes flashed a trace of calmness. Just as the shield was about to cut the long sword, the blood-red shield squirmed and quickly shrank into the shape of a dagger. Qi Jianxing's expression was one of astonishment and disbelief as he watched the blood-red dagger cut through his long sword. With a crack, the long sword was directly broken. When he was in the initial element boundary, Yang Kai was able to destroy a common-grade defensive artifact with a weapon condensed from Yang liquid. Now that his strength had reached the separation and reunion boundary, his Yuan Qi was even purer and richer. The long sword in Qi Jianxing's hand was just a weapon forged from fine steel, not even an artifact. How could it withstand such a cut? Yang Kai had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, his dagger dancing like a flower. With a light sound, the long sword in Qi Jianxing's hand broke into several pieces. If he had not retreated quickly, even the hand holding the sword would have been cut off. Qi Jianxing's eyes trembled as he looked at Yang Kai in shock. Before, his sword was quite agile, so he would not use his long sword to meet Yang Kai head-on, so he did not have to worry about his weapon being damaged, but he did not expect that the defensive shield could actually change shape. In a moment of carelessness, his weapon was instantly destroyed. Without a long sword, the strength of a 9-star sword faction disciple was destined to be reduced. Now it's my turn. Yang Kai took a deep breath, his expression changing from one of weakness, his eyes overflowing with fighting spirit as he stared at Qi Jianxing with disdain. The latter suddenly realized that the other party was just acting just now. Even the shield that was shattered by him earlier was done on purpose to numb him and lower his guard. He had endured for so long just to destroy his long sword. What deep scheming! What incisive methods! For the first time, Qi Jianxing looked at Yang Kai seriously. But he was still not afraid. throwing away the hilt in his hand, he proudly said, "Even if you don't have a weapon, so what? You are still not my opponent." Chapter 233. Without his long sword, Qi Jianxing could still use his finger to wield his sword. When one reached the Yuanqi realm, he could naturally use this method, but the lethality was indeed reduced, about 90% of the power at his peak. Even with 10% less power, I can still easily defeat you. Qi Jianxing sneered again and again. Just as he was about to attack, he saw Yang Kai laughing and pushing out two palms. Beast Spirit Technique. After enduring for so long, he could finally show his full strength. Yang Kai was also somewhat impatient. White Tiger Seal, Divine Ox Seal, two seals appeared at the same time. A tiger roar shook the sky, and a cow roar pierced the ear. Qi Jianxing's face suddenly changed. He saw two fierce-looking monster beasts pouncing towards him. These two monster beasts were vivid and lifelike, as if they were alive. Their fiery red bodies were extremely enchanting, and their scarlet eyes were filled with murderous intent. Qi Jianxing was shocked. How could he dare to be negligent? He put his two fingers together and turned them into a sword. The tip of his finger swallowing the sword, he shouted, "Thunder Rush Sword." A sword flashing with electric arcs shot out from the tip of his finger, hitting the body of one of the monster beasts. The color of its body dimmed, but it did not stop it at all. Wind Supporting Sword. Qi Jianxing quickly retreated, his finger sword continuously swinging. All kinds of 9-star sword sect sword skills flew all over the sky, but still could not defeat the two monster beasts. Seeing that they were about to pounce in front of him, Qi Jianxing bent his legs in horror and suddenly jumped up. Just as he jumped one zhang high, a fierce murderous intent came from above his head. Looking up, he saw Yang Kai above him, smirking and throwing a punch at him. He actually predicted the enemy's move and blocked his retreat. In panic, Qi Jianxing gritted his teeth, pointed his finger to the sky, and 3 sword lights attacked. Yang Kai quickly threw out 3 punches, shattering all 3 sword waves, but this moment of delay allowed Qi Jianxing to twist his body and avoid hitting his vitals, allowing him to land a palm strike on Yang Kai's shoulder. It was accompanied by a scream. Qi Jianxing fell to the ground. At the critical moment of life and death, this outstanding disciple of the 9-star sword school burst forth with unprecedented potential and fighting strength. His hands kept dancing, using profound sword skills to beat the 2 monster beasts that pounced on him until they were illusions and almost collapsed. The white tiger and divine ox rushed over to bite Qi Jianxing, but they couldn't hurt him in the slightest. His sword was still on the outside. The surface of his body was protected by countless tiny sword rays. Every time the white tiger and divine ox attacked, they would be neutralized by these sword lights. In the blink of an eye, the white tiger and divine ox disappeared completely. After all, this was an attack condensed from Yang Kai's Yuan Qi. It only had the shape of a monster beast. Once its Yuan Qi was depleted, it would naturally cease to exist. Hee hee. Qi Jianxing laughed bitterly. Looking at Yang Kai triumphantly, in his mind, consuming a huge amount of Yuan Qi to condense such a monster beast was not worth the loss. With Yang Kai's separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivation, it was impossible for him to condense a second one, so it was better to leave the Yuan Qi for him to fight. But before his laughter faded, under Yang Kai's contemptuous gaze, another divine ox and tiger rushed out, exactly the same as before. How is this possible? Qi Jianxing exclaimed. Even if I don't attack, this one move is enough to kill me. This move alone is more than enough to kill you. Yang Kai stared at Qi Jianxing coldly. Qi Jianxing's expression became gloomy. He knew that Yang Kai was not boasting. The 2 Yuan Qi monster beasts were extremely difficult to deal with. His sword was already on the verge of collapse. If it was hit again, it would definitely collapse. The consumption of Yuan Qi was enormous. Qi Jianxing was no longer as arrogant as before. But I am different from you. I will not underestimate any opponent, so I will still attack. As soon as his voice fell, Yang Kai and the divine ox and tiger attacked together, pouncing towards Qi Jianxing. The latter naturally would not sit still and roared. His finger sword danced again. This time, no matter who it was, no one held back, all of them using their full strength. Any negligence could lead to irreparable consequences. The battle was extremely fierce and extremely dangerous. The two monster beasts were once again defeated. Yang Kai was also hit by two of Qi Jianxing's finger swords, almost having his body pierced, blood flowing from the wounds and staining his clothes red. Qi Jianxing was in an even worse state. Fighting 1 against 3, his sword had been completely destroyed, and his true essence was almost completely depleted. He panted heavily, one arm hanging by his side. His forearm was badly mutilated, and there were bite marks everywhere. These were all bites from the white tiger. His chest was caved in, and several of his ribs were broken. This injury was caused by the divine ox's charge. The horn in front of the divine ox's head almost pierced through him. The two looked at each other from a distance of more than 10 feet. Yang Kai's eyes were cold, while Qi Jianxing's face was twitching. Although he could not believe that he was defeated by a separation and reunion cultivator, he had no choice but to accept the fact. The shame and unwillingness made him almost crazy. Yang Kai did not kill him. The Yuan Qi cultivator's desperate counterattack before his death made him a little afraid. He was waiting for Qi Jianxing's momentum to weaken. Qi Jianxing did not have the slightest trace of worry. He was still laughing coldly. After a few breaths, he said with a gloomy expression, "I admit, you are indeed very strong, stronger than the average Yuan Qi cultivator. But even if you beat me, so what? I am a Yuan Qi cultivator. You can't kill me. If I want to leave, you can't stop me." Laughing heartily, Qi Jianxing stamped his feet on the ground and leapt up 300 meters into the air, his body swaying as he hovered in midair, one hand dangling by his side, the other clutching the wound on his chest. Looking down at Kai Yang, his face filled with pride. This is the biggest difference between the true element boundary and the separation and reunion boundary. I can fly in the air, but you can't, so I can leave at any time. While speaking, Qi Jianxing vomited a mouthful of blood. He stretched out his hand and wiped it with difficulty. He looked at Yang Kai crazily and said in a low voice, "I will remember today's shame. The next time we meet, I will take your dog life. You better pray that you can live until that day." After saying that, he narrowed his eyes, as if he wanted to deeply imprint Yang Kai's face in his eyes. Below, Yang Kai looked indifferent. He looked at Qi Jianxing indifferently. A moment later, Qi Jianxing turned around and staggered away in the air with a heart full of hatred and humiliation. "This hatred, I will definitely get my revenge." Qi Jianxing swore in his heart. After flying for less than 300 feet, he suddenly felt a heat behind him. Immediately, a cold voice sounded behind him, "You think you can escape?" Qi Jianxing's face suddenly changed. In an instant he was scared out of his wits. Hurriedly turning his head, he saw the High Heaven Pavilion disciple chasing after him. But behind him, there was a pair of dazzling and burning huge wings. The wings flapped like a giant peng, insufferably arrogant. Qi Jianxing was inexplicably horrified. He had never thought that a cultivator could grow wings on his back. He only spat out one syllable. Yang Kai quickly rushed in front of him. His palm pressed against Qi Jianxing's abdomen, then stretched out a big hand, grabbed Qi Jianxing's neck, and rushed to the ground like lightning. Close at hand, Qi Jianxing saw the murderous intent in Yang Kai's eyes, cold and without the slightest emotion. The two figures streaked across the sky like meteors, and in the blink of an eye, they hit the ground. They were still about 10 feet away from the ground. Yang Kai used all his strength. He ruthlessly threw Qi Jianxing to the ground, but he himself suddenly stopped. Peng! Dust flew as Qi Jianxing's body collided with the ground. A small crater was directly smashed into the ground, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Like a ragged sack, Qi Jianxing rolled for a long time. Only then did he gradually stop. Opening his eyes with difficulty, he saw Yang Kai flapping his wings and slowly approaching him. Flying close, Yang Kai retracted his wings and landed on the ground. Walking in front of Qi Jianxing, he looked at him indifferently, just like Qi Jianxing had looked down on him a moment ago. His heart was dead. Qi Jianxing's last resort, which he was so proud of, was in front of Yang Kai. It couldn't play any role at all. You're not dead yet, worthy of being a Yuan Qi expert. Yang Kai coldly ridiculed, raised his foot, and stepped on Qi Jianxing's neck. Don't kill me. Qi Jianxing struggled while coughing, blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. Don't you want to learn the sword skills of the 9-star sword sect? I can teach you whatever you want to learn. I'll teach you. I'm also considered a rising star in the 9-star sword sect. I've come into contact with many profound sword skills. Cough cough. No need, I don't believe you. Yang Kai looked indifferent. The sword skills of the 9-star sword sect indeed made Yang Kai jealous, but Yang Kai didn't believe that Qi Jianxing would really teach him with this person's personality and means. Once he recovered his Yuan Qi, it would definitely be a variable. So he couldn't let him live. Hearing this, Qi Jianxing's gloomy expression became more and more defeated. Why do you want to become enemies with my 9-star sword sect? If you kill me, cough cough, my eldest brother will be the first to know. He won't let you go. With his strength, you won't be able to resist. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed as he coldly said, Wu Chengyi, you don't need to worry. Even if he doesn't come looking for me, I will find him myself. You really want to be so ruthless? It's you who want to kill me. Yang Kai sneered, not wanting to waste any more words, his foot slamming down as his Yuan Qi burst forth. With a cracking sound, Qi Jianxing's neck broke, his head falling limply to the side, no longer showing any signs of life. The moment Qi Jianxing died, Wu Chengyi, who was a few dozen kilometers away, suddenly frowned and stared into the distance with a surprised expression. The 3 Ghost King Valley disciples could use a special method to sense each other's location and life, so could the disciples of the 9-star sword sect. However, what Wu Chengyi couldn't understand was how Qi Jianxing had died. Could it be that he had encountered those people from Tianlang dynasty? If not, with his Yuan Qi 3rd stage cultivation, there was no reason for him to die so tragically. Wu Chengyi's face showed a pained expression. He didn't really care about Qi Jianxing's life or death, but because Qi Jianxing had a precious treasure on him. It was something his senior brothers had obtained in that isolated world and had been assigned to him. As far as Wu Chengyi knew, Qi Jianxing had never been willing to use it. Brother Wu, what's wrong? A raging flame temple cultivator saw Wu Chengyi's dignified expression and couldn't help asking nervously, is there someone from Tianlang dynasty nearby? It's possible. Wu Chengyi calmed his expression and whispered, we need to speed up and try to find a safe place to hide. Hearing him say this, everyone's expression changed slightly, their movements becoming more and more cautious. These past few months, they had suffered a lot at the hands of those Tianlang dynasty disciples. Chapter 234. After Qi Jianxing died, it didn't take long for a blood bead to condense. It was about the same size as the blood bead from the Ghost King Valley. After all, they were both young cultivators in the Yuan Qi realm, so the gap in strength was not very big. Yang Kai gasped for breath as he put away the blood bead, then searched Qi Jianxing's body. After a while, he found several blood beads of different sizes, which should be Qi Jianxing's spoils from the previous battle, but he didn't use them. In addition, there were some silver notes and a green bottle. These were all his gains. Putting everything into his universe bag, Yang Kai quickly left the scene. Half a day later, in the belly of a mountain, Yang Kai sat cross-legged and took a few healing pills. He also changed his blood-stained clothes to get rid of any possible smell of blood. The cave he was hiding in was something he had dug out himself. After learning that the Tianlang dynasty people could enslave monster beasts to fight for them, Yang Kai knew that he had to be more careful in the future. Digging out a cave, hiding in it to heal himself, and then sealing the entrance to the cave would allow him to avoid any possible troubles. The battle with Qi Jianxing, the injuries were not light, but also not heavy. Yang Kai's current strength and recovery ability were much stronger than before, so it would only take a few days for him to fully recover, not to mention with the help of the healing pills. In just 3 days, the 3 bloody holes on his body were no longer a problem. Although they were not completely healed, they would not bleed anymore. In these 3 days, Yang Kai had been recalling the battle with Qi Jianxing, his arrogance and loss, his own caution, looking for other people's shortcomings, and reflecting on himself. What a harvest! After opening his eyes, his body was filled with joy. Fighting with all his strength made him feel happy. The yang liquid in the dantian needed to be replenished a little. Fortunately, Grand Master Ling Tai Su left a few bottles of yang attribute pills in his universe bag, so Yang Kai didn't have to worry about it. After swallowing a whole bottle, the yang liquid in the dantian increased by a dozen drops. After the yuan qi was purified, the amount of energy required to condense a drop of yang liquid had become much more than before, which was a good thing. After thinking about it, Yang Kai swallowed the remaining few bottles of yang attribute pills. Finally, the amount of yang liquid he had was greatly increased. He searched through the cosmos sack. Yang Kai took out a green bottle. This bottle was found on Qi Jianxing's body, but he didn't know what was inside. When he opened the lid of the bottle, a scorching heat instantly assaulted him. This made Yang Kai feel a sense of familiarity, but he couldn't help but feel slightly moved. He could clearly feel that the energy contained in this bottle was extremely pure and rich, although it was somewhat similar to the energy in his own yang attribute yuan qi. However, it was not the same. Lowering his head, Yang Kai saw a glass-like liquid in the bottle, which was the color of flames. Not much, only 4 or 5 drops. Qi Jianxing did not have anything on him except for this bottle of liquid. He treated it like a treasure, so its value was definitely not low. But what exactly was this thing? Yang Kai observed left and right, sniffing here and there, secretly guessing. He was extremely curious. "Old demon," Yang Kai called out. "Yes, this old servant is here." The old demon responded in a rather flattering manner. "Look at this thing. Do you recognize it?" Yang Kai asked. The old demon couldn't help but cough a few times awkwardly. "Forget it." Yang Kai's heart was as clear as day, knowing that old demon must have become stupid again. The old demon's memory was chaotic. Sometimes it could be of great use, and sometimes it was completely useless. Yang Kai was already used to this. If the old demon really recognized this thing, he would have jumped out to prove his knowledge. Why would he wait for Yang Kai to ask? After sniffing for a while, Yang Kai felt that this thing should not be poisonous, so he discussed it with the old demon for a while. He also thought the same. But Yang Kai was still a little worried, so he rushed out of his seclusion. After searching for a long time, he finally found a lone 4th-grade monster beast. Without any explanation, he beat the monster beast until it fainted, then he brought it back to the cave. On the way back, Yang Kai picked a stalk of withered grass, carefully dipped it in the liquid in the bottle, and then put it into the monster beast's mouth. He quietly waited and observed. Not long after, the demonic beast let out an incomparably mournful howl as if it had been poisoned. Its entire body twitched incessantly as white foam came out of its mouth. Its body flickered between light and darkness. Yang Kai's expression was solemn, secretly thinking that it was fortunate that he didn't take the risk just now, otherwise he might not even know how he died. Just as Yang Kai thought so, the 4th-grade monster beast suddenly emitted a surge of energy, and then it suddenly broke free from Yang Kai's restraints, full of vigor, and fiercely fought with Yang Kai in the cave. In this state, it didn't look like it had been poisoned at all. After a long, fierce battle, Yang Kai died of anger. Looking at the monster beast's corpse in a daze, Yang Kai was a little puzzled. Before he brought it back, it was clearly just a 4th-grade monster beast and he could easily knock it out, but why did he feel that it was much stronger just now? It seemed to have the strength of a 5th-grade monster beast. Just as he was puzzling, a blood bead quietly formed. Yang Kai looked at it and was stunned for a long time. His expression was uncertain, and he couldn't help but curse. "Young master, calm down." The old demon hurriedly comforted him. The reason for Yang Kai's anger was none other than the fact that he had already guessed what was inside this green bottle. The evidence was the blood bead condensed after the monster beast's death. This blood bead was the size of a little thumbnail. Although it was not as big as the blood bead of a 5th-grade monster beast, it was much bigger than the blood bead of a 4th-grade monster beast. To be able to make a 4th-grade monster beast grow to a level close to 5th grade in such a short time, the liquid in the bottle was clearly a kind of treasure. Combining it with what he heard half a year ago, and comparing the shape and color of the liquid in the bottle, Yang Kai's face was full of annoyance. Brilliant flame liquid. It was a natural treasure that could refine Yuan Qi. It could make Yuan Qi purer and more outstanding. In this world, there were not many things that could refine a cultivator's Yuan Qi, so every kind was priceless. For example, the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew was a high-end existence. And this brilliant flame liquid was the same. Previously, when he heard the reflecting moon sect's elder Zhua Wen mention the brilliant flame liquid by the lake, Yang Kai wasn't too tempted, because he already had the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew, so there was no need to be greedy. But now, he had coincidentally obtained the brilliant flame liquid. The situation was different. The 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew could be used when he was advancing to Yuan Qi. The brilliant flame liquid could be used now, and the effect would definitely be better if he used both at the same time. Unfortunately, such a treasure was divided into half a drop by a monster beast. Yang Kai's heart ached, his liver ached, his lungs ached. Every part of his body ached. Things had already reached this point. It was useless to be upset. While lamenting the good luck of this person from the 9-star sword sect, he sat down cross-legged. Carefully taking a drop of the brilliant flame liquid from the bottle, Yang Kai quickly closed his eyes and drank it. Eyes to nose to heart, enter meditation. Circulating the true Yang tactics, Yang Kai felt a burning sensation spread from his abdomen. People who cultivated yang or fire techniques would generally not have this kind of feeling. From this, it could be seen how hot the energy contained in the brilliant flame liquid was. At first, the burning sensation was not very strong, but as time passed, Yang Kai soon felt a burning sensation like he was in a furnace. His whole body was steaming hot, and the new clothes he had just changed into were instantly drenched in sweat. This intense burning sensation first stayed in his lower abdomen for a moment, and then it was immediately guided by the true yang tactics. From all directions, it poured into his limbs and bones. His meridians were in severe pain. Yang Kai firmly clenched his teeth, not daring to relax in the slightest, and the secret arts circulated faster and faster. This heat was like a flame that could burn through the sky, like a magma that could incinerate the earth. While flowing in his meridians, it also burned the Yuan Qi in Yang Kai's meridians. After a few circulations, Yang Kai suddenly found that his Yuan Qi had been compressed and purified to the limit. It had become even purer. His spirit shook, and he concentrated even more. A moment later, the Yuan Qi in his meridians reached its limit again, and could no longer be purified. Yang Kai used his mind to guide the energy contained in the brilliant flame liquid, immersing it in the dantian. Inside the dantian, there were nearly 100 drops of yang liquid that could be burned. Time passed slowly. A few days later, Yang Kai opened his eyes, his pupils overflowing with light, and involuntarily sucked in a deep breath. Refreshing. With a single drop of brilliant flame liquid, Yang Kai's Yuan Qi was once again refined, reducing the 100 drops of yang liquid by more than a dozen, but the energy contained in each drop was much more than before. Not only had his Yuan Qi undergone a change, but even his meridians and physique had undergone some subtle changes. His meridians had become tougher and wider, his physique had become firmer, and every inch of his skin, every cell, was rejuvenated from the inside out. His original separation and reunion boundary 7-stage cultivation had been greatly consolidated, and he was not far from breaking through to separation and reunion 8th stage. This was the effect of tempering his Yuan Qi. Sometimes, when breaking through, increasing the energy in the body was not the only way. Old demon, if I were to take another drop of brilliant flame liquid, would I be able to directly break through? Yang Kai was eager to try. Although the old demon was sometimes unreliable, he had now given him valuable experience. It's probably useless. Being able to refine young master's Yuan Qi to this extent is already the greatest effect of this kind of precious treasure. This kind of thing is not something that the more you take, the better the effect. If you want to refine your yuan qi again, you'll need to find a better and higher grade treasure. I think so too. Yang Kai put away his thoughts and solemnly stuffed the small green bottle into his universe bag. Where did the 9-star sword sect people find this brilliant flame liquid? Qi Jianxing had a few drops, so what about Wu Chengyi? He probably had even more on him, right? Thinking so, Yang Kai couldn't help but sneer. Wu Chengyi had sent Qi Jianxing to hunt him down, so how could Yang Kai let him off so easily? There was already enmity between them, and now that he knew the other party had such a precious treasure, it would be strange if Yang Kai didn't have ideas about him. However, Wu Qingyi's strength was too strong, and he was also the temporary leader of that group of cultivators. If Yang Kai really wanted to offend him, he would not have a good ending, so this matter could only be dealt with slowly. Tidying up his mood, Yang Kai broke out of seclusion. For the next month, Yang Kai hunted monster beasts in this isolated world. During this 1 month of wandering, Yang Kai had not encountered anyone else, but the number of monster beasts he had found was few and far between. It seemed that things were indeed as Chun Xueshu had told him. Most of the monster beasts in this isolated world had been enslaved by the people of Tianlang dynasty. Chapter 235. After a month of training, Yang Kai's harvest was very little. He couldn't kill many monster beasts, so naturally he didn't obtain any blood orbs, but this was secondary. The key point was that the monster beast he encountered was too weak. A rank 4 monster beast couldn't withstand more than a few moves in front of Yang Kai, and the weaker rank 5 monster beast was also somewhat insufficient. Without experiencing a difficult battle, it was impossible for him to make a breakthrough in his own foundation. Yang Kai thirsted for blood and the baptism of strong enemies. It wasn't that he didn't gain anything. During this month, Yang Kai inadvertently discovered another use of the Beast Soul skill. The Beast Soul skill that he obtained from the 2 tyrannical monster beasts' remnant thoughts wasn't just for attack. However, Yang Kai himself was still in the process of exploring this use and had yet to perfect it. On this day, after Yang Kai killed 3 rank 4 monster beasts, in a certain forest 30 miles away, a woman suddenly opened her eyes, and a trace of coldness and surprise flashed through her eyes. This woman's dress and facial features were slightly different from the big man's. She was one of the Tianlang Kingdom's cultivators. She wasn't ugly, and could even be said to be very beautiful. But for some reason, this woman gave people a very strange feeling, like a beautiful snake that hid but didn't attack, and at any time, it would use its venomous fangs to bite people and kill them. No matter who saw her, they wouldn't dare to look down on her. Her clothes were rather revealing. Her jade-like arms were exposed, and the tight short top on her upper body couldn't hide her impressive figure. When she raised her hands, her flat stomach and exquisite navel were revealed without a doubt. Her lower body was even more simple, with short shorts that reached her hips. Her 2 slender beautiful legs were exposed just like that. She looked in the direction of Yang Kai, and the corner of her mouth held a faint cold smile. She slowly stood up, her exquisite and petite body full of incomparable explosive power. When she stood up, the 2 people standing behind her quietly took a few steps back, and stared at the back of this Tianlang Kingdom woman, their eyes full of fear and resentment. These 2 people were a man and a woman. If Yang Kai were here, he would definitely be surprised because these 2 were actually Ghost King Valley disciples. Jin Hao and Ling Shan. The 2 Ghost King Valley disciples stared at the Tianlang dynasty woman at this moment, and as they stared, their yuan qi involuntarily surged as murderous intent flashed across their eyes. Roar! At this time, dozens of monster beasts around them suddenly bared their fangs and roared at Jin Hao and Ling Shan, mixed with a warning. The woman from the Tianlang dynasty slowly turned around and gave Jin Hao and Ling Shan a meaningful look. The 2 of them couldn't help but tremble. He quickly withdrew his killing intent and yuan qi. You can't kill me. The Tianlang dynasty woman's name was Zmo. Jin Hao and Ling Shan had been by her side for 1 to 2 months, but this was the only information they knew about her. Zmo coldly snorted, Only this once. If you dare try anything funny again, I'll kill you. Don't blame me for being ruthless." Although Jin Hao and Leng Shan's eyes were full of humiliation, they didn't dare act presumptuously. Jin Hao quickly bowed his head and said, "Subordinate and junior sister, don't dare. Please rest assured, young lady Z." ZMO stared at him deeply for a moment before smiling. "You should be thankful that you fell into my hands. If you had accidentally fallen into the hands of my two brother and senior sister, I'm afraid you'd already be dead." Saying so, ZMO slowly stepped forward, her willowy waist swaying gently as a faint smile appeared on her face. Jin Hao quietly glanced up and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. ZMO's figure was amazing. Her dress was so bold and unrestrained, completely different from the women of the great Han dynasty. Although they had been together for many days, every time he looked at her, it gave him a strange sense of excitement, especially that flat stomach and exquisite navel, which were a huge attraction to the hot-blooded Jin Hao. He often fantasized about it. If he could strip this seductive woman naked, ruthlessly ravage her, taste her beauty, listen to her beg for mercy and scream, how happy would that be? But Jin Hao only dared to think about it. In front of ZMO, he didn't dare have any crooked thoughts. This woman from the Tian Lang dynasty. He was a master who killed without batting an eyelid. Compared to the disciples of Ghost King Valley, she was even crueler and bloodier. ZMO walked up to Leng Shan and stood in front of her, still smiling. Leng Shan's face showed an unnatural look of disgust. Her body couldn't help trembling, but she didn't dare to make a sound. ZMO chuckled and stretched out her jade-like hand, lifting Leng Shan's delicate chin and staring at her thin red lips. In the next moment, she suddenly leaned forward and pressed her lips against Leng Shan's. Jin Hao took a deep breath and silently bent his body, quietly sticking out his buttocks, feeling his blood boil. The sound of sucking came, and Leng Shan's powerless resistance only aroused ZMO's interest. With a chuckle, ZMO stretched out her hand and plunged it into Leng Shan's clothes, groping around. Jin Hao's eyes turned red with envy. Leng Shan's status in the sect was very high, even he didn't dare to be presumptuous with her, but these days, she was being tasted by another woman. That snake-like tongue probed into her mouth, that full chest was kneaded out of shape, and that perky round buttocks were covered by a slender jade hand, constantly changing shape in front of his eyes. This wasn't the first time such a thing had happened. Jin Hao had seen it at least 7 or 8 times, and every time it made him burn with desire, it was unbearable. Leng Shan's powerless resistance turned into submission. The two women's breaths slowly became rapid, and the sound of their heartbeats could be heard, causing one's imagination to run wild. Jin Hao forced himself to turn his head. He was afraid he wouldn't be able to control himself. After a long time, ZMO released Leng Shan and the two women's lips parted, a crystal-clear line connecting their lips. Leng Shan's chest rose and fell violently, and tears fell from the corners of her eyes. ZMO giggled and reached out to wipe them away, as gentle as a lover. "Do you want to have her like I do?" ZMO suddenly turned her head and looked at Jin Hao with a smile. "Ah." Jin Hao stared blankly, a puzzled look on his face. ZMO pursed her lips. "You like your junior sister, right?" Jin Hao glanced at Leng Shan and nodded. "I can give you a chance." ZMO looked at Jin Hao meaningfully. "Let's see if you can grasp it." Jin Hao's face was filled with struggle and pain, but ZMO wasn't in a hurry and just looked at him quietly, waiting for his answer. She knew Jin Hao wouldn't refuse her proposal because he wasn't a gentleman. Sure enough, a moment later, Jin Hao suddenly knelt on the ground and sincerely said, "This subordinate is willing to sincerely pledge his allegiance to young lady. From now on, this subordinate will go through water and tread on fire to fulfill young lady's orders." Hee hee. ZMO laughed and nodded slightly. "Very good. A wise man submits to circumstances. I like smart people." "Brother." Leng Shan's expression suddenly became cold as she gloomily stared at Jin Hao. Jin Hao's expression became awkward. "Junior sister, you and I can live or die at young lady's whim. Why should we resist? Young lady is benevolent and righteous and is willing to give us a chance. If we follow her wishes, we can live." Lung Shan looked at Jin Hao with disgust and no longer said anything, slowly closing her eyes. Zmo chuckled and retreated to a nearby tree, half leaning against the trunk, her expression languid and flirtatious as she whispered, "Go and help me catch someone. After completing this task, your junior sister will be at your disposal, you can do whatever you want with her." Hearing this, Lung Shan's expression changed while Jin Hao's face filled with excitement. "If you're fast enough, efficient enough, and don't let me wait too long." Zmo stuck out her red tongue and licked her lips. "Let me accompany you this one time. Young lady, I like both men and women, hee." Jin Hao couldn't help but swallow his saliva. To be able to play with his junior sister, and also to have sex with the Tianlang dynasty's enchanting women, a dragon with 2 phoenixes, what a dream. Jin Hao immediately became excited and excitedly said, "Please instruct me, young lady." Zmo's expression became serious as she pointed in a certain direction. "You need to go 30 kilometers from here. Your target is here, so you need to move quickly. If you're too slow, you may not be able to catch up." Jin Hao's brow wrinkled. "May I ask, young lady, how many people are there?" "There should only be one," Zmo replied confidently. Jin Hao's expression changed slightly. To be able to survive until now, his strength is certainly not weak. "Young lady, I would like to go with my junior sister. Please allow me." "Hee." Zmo giggled. "Your junior sister must stay behind, so she can't accompany you, but I can send a few monster beasts to accompany you. 3 fifth-order monster beasts should be enough, right?" Jin Hao's expression became bitter, knowing that the other party still didn't trust him. 3 fifth-order monster beasts were more than enough to kill him. Rather than saying that these monster beasts were here to support him, it would be better to say that they were here to monitor him. That's enough. Jin Hao didn't dare show any dissatisfaction and quickly nodded. "Go, remember, your junior sister is waiting for you to return. I will also be waiting." Zmo winked at Jin Hao. "Yes." Jin Hao got up and flew off in the direction Zmo had indicated. The 3 fifth-order monster beasts quickly followed. Although they were all 5th-order monster beasts, there was still a difference in strength between them. While flying, Jin Hao looked back and saw the appearance of the 3 monster beasts and couldn't help cursing them in his heart. If they were just 3 ordinary 5th-order monster beasts, Jin Hao could still deal with them, but these 3 were average 5th-order monster beasts, each of them equivalent to the 5th or 6th stage of Yuan Qi boundary, so how could he dare to act rashly? At this moment, he could only do his best to complete the task Zmo had given him. Jin Hao's speed was very fast, and with Lung Shan and Zmo's tender bodies in his mind, he arrived at his destination in less than a stick of incense worth of time. Restraining his aura, Yang Kai glanced around but didn't find any trace of them, only some powder left behind. This powder was the remains of the monster beast after it died. The 3 monster beasts that had followed him ran to the side and sniffed, then immediately chased in a certain direction. Jin Hao also hurriedly followed. After chasing for half an hour or so, the 3 fifth-order monster beast suddenly stopped, a ferocious expression on its face as it looked towards a certain part of the jungle. Jin Hao landed on the ground, his eyes cold as he stared at the dense forest, lightly shouting, "Which friend is here? Please show yourself." Chapter 236. As soon as Jin Hao's voice fell, a figure emerged from the darkness of the jungle. Seeing the other party appear so fearlessly, Jin Hao couldn't help tensing up, his expression solemn as he secretly raised his guard. He thought that, as he had guessed before, he had encountered some kind of master. However, when this person's appearance appeared in front of Jin Hao's eyes, his expression suddenly became one of disbelief, his pupils shrinking. Yang Kai simply sneered at him, but in fact he was also feeling helpless. The other party had identified his hiding place at a glance, so what was the point of continuing to hide? Instead of letting him force him out, he might as well come out on his own. Sweeping his eyes around, Yang Kai's brow furrowed, instantly understanding many things. "It's you!" Jin Hao cried out. How could you, still alive?" Yang Kai chuckled. "Yes, how could you still be alive? Jin Hao's voice sank. More than half a year ago, 3 Ghost King Valley disciples had chased after Yang Kai. Yu Cheng Kuan was the fastest, chasing after Yang Kai, followed by Jin Hao and Lung Shan, but when the 2 of them reached a cliff, they sensed Yu Cheng Kuan's death. At that time, Jin Hao thought that Yang Kai had dragged Yu Cheng Kuan down the cliff and perished together, but he hadn't expected to meet him again more than half a year later. This time, this High Heaven Pavilion disciple was not only alive but also much stronger than he had been half a year ago. Why can't I be alive? Yang Kai sneered. Didn't you fall off that cliff? Jin Hao thought of a possibility. I did, but I climbed back up. By the way, your junior brother wasn't so lucky. He fell to the bottom of the cliff and turned into a pile of meat paste, dying a tragic death. Yang Kai raised his brow. The original intention of these words was to disturb Jin Hao's mind and anger him, but what Yang Kai hadn't expected was that Jin Hao remained indifferent. He just sneered at himself. If it was half a year ago, Jin Hao would have been really angry, but now, his own life is in the hands of others. He is like a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. How can he have the leisure to worry about others? Perceiving Jin Hao's indifference, Yang Kai frowned and glanced over at the 3 fifth-order monster beasts nearby. He said disdainfully, so you've already abandoned your own sect. The few people who have defected to the Tianlang dynasty. These 3 level 5 monster beasts were not of the same species, so they were able to coexist peacefully. Furthermore, they were hostile towards him. It was obvious that someone had enslaved them. Jin Hao doesn't have this ability. Only the people from Tianlang dynasty can enslave the monster beast. What do you know? Jin Hao was somewhat angry. Yelling at Yang Kai, he shouted, You don't know anything, so stop spouting nonsense here and judging me for who I am. If you have the time, you should take care of yourself first. With a wave of his hand, Jin Hao ordered, Kill him. Yang Kai's expression became serious as he vigilantly stared at the 3 rank 5 monster beast. Who would have thought that the 3 monster beast would only continue to threaten Yang Kai, but did not listen to Jin Hao's order to kill him? Damn, smelly bitch. Jin Hao couldn't help but curse. ZMO let the 3 monster beast follow him, but they don't listen to his orders. What use is there for them? Ha ha ha. Seeing this funny scene, Yang Kai couldn't help but laugh out loud. Jin Hao's face turned red and blue, as if he had opened a dye house. Yang Kai's ridicule, coupled with his current situation, made him completely annoyed. His fists crackled as he smirked at Yang Kai. Laugh, laugh, you won't have a chance to laugh in the future. While speaking, the 2 white ghost claws emitted a cold wind, giving off a bone-piercing chill. Like the wind, Jin Hao pounced towards Yang Kai. His ghost claws swept across. Bringing with it a dim light, an unbearable cold aura filled Yang Kai's body, constantly eroding his insides. Yang Kai's expression became serious as he urged his Yuan Qi to resist the other party's erosion while parrying the other party's attacks. The gap between their realms was quite large. Jin Hao's strength was around Yuan Qi 5th stage, which was 2 realms higher than Qi Jianxing, but if one really wanted to compare, the 2's combat effectiveness was almost the same. After all, their backgrounds were different. Qi Jianxing came from a first-class sect like the 9 Star Sword School, while Jin Hao came from a second-class sect like Ghost King Valley. Therefore, even though Yang Kai seemed to be at a disadvantage, his life was not in danger for the time being. In the past month or so, he had grown quite a bit. The only thing that worried Yang Kai was the 3 rank 5 monster beast. Each of these monster beasts' strength was extraordinary, so if they all rushed at him, his only option was to escape. But after fighting for a while, Yang Kai was surprised to find that these 3 monster beasts were just watching from the sidelines, not intending to intervene at all. Seeing this, Yang Kai's courage increased, and his strength slowly increased until it reached the peak of the separation and reunion boundary. Jin Hao's attacks were ruthless and fierce, releasing all the anger he had accumulated over the past month. He had completely forgotten the task ZMO had given him, which was to capture Yang Kai and bring him back. He put on a look of determination that he would not give up until he killed Yang Kai. Gaining the upper hand, in just half a cup of tea's time, Jin Hao had already left more than a dozen wounds on Yang Kai's body. Although they were not enough to damage his muscles and bones, they still caused him to bleed a lot. "Heh, boy, you will die today." In the midst of the fierce battle, Jin Hao still had the strength to show off, sneering. Yang Kai gritted his teeth and punched out, taking advantage of Jin Hao's defensive state to quickly retreat. Suddenly, he raised his palms and slammed them towards the middle. Two soul-stirring energy fluctuations surged out. Sensing the killing intent behind this move, Jin Hao also readied himself. A tiger's roar and a cow's mooing sound rang out as Yang Kai displayed his beast soul skill. As the two palms pushed out, two fiery red and lifelike silhouettes rushed out like lightning. Jin Hao's complexion changed greatly as he hurriedly retreated. Facing the two monster beasts' attacks, he no longer dared to hold back, pushing his Yuan Qi to the limit as he repeatedly used his killing moves. Yang Kai secretly cursed as he joined forces with the two beast souls to attack. Although the beast soul skill was successfully displayed, it was not what Yang Kai wanted. During this month, he had discovered another way to use the beast soul skill. He had hoped to succeed in one fell swoop against Jin Hao, but unexpectedly, the heavens did not grant him his wish, so he could only give up. Jin Hao was worthy of being a Yuan Qi 5th stage master. Yang Kai and the two beast souls joined forces to fight, but they were only able to turn the tables and fight evenly. A moment later, the two beast souls ran out of energy and disappeared without a trace. Seeing this opportunity, Jin Hao hurriedly rushed forward and grinned, "Boy, you're dead." Yang Kai's expression became serious as he once again raised his palms. Seeing this familiar action, Jin Hao was shocked. He didn't want to face the two fleshless but extremely difficult to deal with beast souls again. So he decided to use all of his trump cards. A ghostly howl rang out. A stream of black gas suddenly shot out from Jin Hao's palm, and a distorted face roared ferociously, mixed with a sky-piercing murderous aura. Like an evil spirit, it rushed towards Yang Kai. This was a familiar scene. When Yu Chengkuan and Yang Kai both fell off the cliff at the same time, the latter had also used this move. Seeing this face, Yang Kai was not surprised, but delighted. He had been looking forward to Jin Hao using this move, but he had not expected it would not happen until now. With a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, Yang Kai did not move at all. His body was steady as if he did not see it. Clapping and pushing his palms, the two energies in the center of his palms magically merged into one. There was no white tiger, no divine ox, and no beast roar, only a dim light shot out. Jin Hao moved his body to the side. He easily dodged it. This dim light instantly drilled into the body of a fifth-order monster beast behind Jin Hao. There was no ripple. Success! Yang Kai was overjoyed. Jin Hao was furious and shouted, "Stinky boy, you deliberately mystifying things. Do you want to scare me?" Just now, he had suffered a loss at the hands of two beast phantoms, so after seeing Yang Kai assume such a powerful stance, he had even resorted to using his trump card, but he hadn't expected that his opponent would only be all bark and no bite. There was no trace of the beast souls at all. How could he not be angry? As soon as his voice fell, Jin Hao's mind suddenly shook. A severe pain came from his head, and his face suddenly turned pale. His Yuan Qi also became chaotic, and he retreated with a look of horror. Looking at Yang Kai in shock, You were hit by the Ghost King's seal, how can you be okay?" At that moment, Jin Hao clearly felt that his Ghost King's seal had disappeared. Just like when Yu Chengkuan suffered a backlash, Jin Hao also suffered a heavy backlash at this moment. "Heh, this time you're dead." Yang Kai took a deep breath and grinned. "How could you dissolve the Ghost King's seal?" Jin Hao's face was full of horror, but he did not know that inside Yang Kai's body, the old demon was eating happily at this moment. The Ghost King's seal, to put it bluntly, was a wisp of resentful soul. It was fed by the Ghost King Valley's disciples with Yuan Qi and blood essence. It was a delicious meal for the old demon. "When you go to hell, ask your junior brother, he also died like this." Saying so, Yang Kai opened his hand and condensed a drop of yang liquid into a blood-red sword. The other party's martial arts were incomparably sharp, and the pair of ghostly white claws were as hard as iron, not inferior to a common grade high-rank artifact in terms of strength and sharpness. To deal with such an enemy, using Yang liquid as a weapon was the best choice. Although Jin Hao still had the strength to fight, the inexplicable disappearance of the Ghost King seal shocked him, and he no longer dared to confront Yang Kai, hurriedly retreating. But just as he retreated 3 steps, a murderous intent suddenly appeared behind him. Jin Hao's face suddenly changed, and before he had time to turn around, he smelled a fishy wind and immediately felt a sharp pain in his neck. Falling to the ground, Jin Hao struggled to resist, but from the corner of his eyes he saw the monster beast that followed him tearing at his flesh. His heart sank to the bottom, and he roared to the sky, "ZMO, you stinking whore!" He thought it was ZMO who wanted to kill him. Between life and death, Jin Hao erupted with all his strength and finally got rid of the 5th order monster beast's bite. Awkwardly standing up, he felt his neck was badly mangled and blood was constantly flowing out. Just as he stood firmly, Yang Kai arrived with his sword. The blood-red sword chopped down on his head, but Jin Hao quickly raised his hands to block. His white hands were really strong, and even if he was hit by the sword, there was only a small crack, not a cut. In a flash, the 5th order monster beast rushed back, and together with Yang Kai attacked Jin Hao from both sides. Jin Hao's soul was damaged, and his body was seriously injured, so how could he still be Yang Kai's opponent? Chapter 237. In just 30 breaths of time, Yang Kai's sword had cut off Jin Hao's pair of ghost claws. Having lost his most important pair of hands, Jin Hao no longer had the ability to resist and could only flee in panic. Unable to even fly, he was killed by Yang Kai and the 5th order monster beast. When Jin Hao died, the other 2 monster beasts who had been watching from the side seemed to have received some kind of order and fled together. Yang Kai had been vigilant of their movements from beginning to end. He knew that they were the slaves of the Tian Lang dynasty's cultivator. Although he wanted to kill them, their speed was too fast. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to catch up with them in a short time. In order to prevent any unexpected changes, he could only let them go. Lightly gasping for breath, Yang Kai looked at the rank 5 monster beast standing to the side. His slightly wrinkled eyebrows gradually relaxed and a touch of joy appeared on his face. This battle was even easier than the battle with the disciple of the 9-star sword school. The existence of the old demon and the rank 5 monster beast's betrayal were the key to Jin Hao's death. Even if Jin Hao died, he still wouldn't understand why the monster beast he brought would attack him. The root of everything was the beast's soul skill. This was also a method that Yang Kai had unintentionally discovered. A few days ago, he encountered a rank 5 monster beast. Originally, he just wanted to use the beast soul skill to summon 2 beast souls to help. However, for some unknown reason, the 2 beast souls unexpectedly merged into one and turned into a faint light that entered the rank 5 monster beast's body. Then, the rank 5 monster beast actually obeyed Yang Kai's command. This unintentional discovery made Yang Kai somewhat ecstatic. Recently, he had been exploring the mysteries of this method, but he still couldn't figure out the main points. Even when he used this technique, it sometimes didn't work and often caused some mishaps. Moreover, the number of monster beasts he encountered was getting fewer and fewer. This made him feel quite regretful that he didn't have many test subjects. However, he had already thought of a name for this technique. The combination of the white tiger seal and the divine ox seal formed a martial skill called the beast slave seal. Separately, he could summon 2 beast souls to help him, and together, he could form a new martial technique. In the battle with Jin Hao, the beast slave seal played a huge role. If it wasn't for the rank 5 monster beast's sneak attack at the last moment, with Jin Hao's means and strength, he would have most likely escaped. If this move was used well, it would definitely be much more powerful than the white tiger seal and divine ox seal. Although the attacks of the 2 beast souls were extraordinary, their overall strength was still somewhat weak. Their combined combat power was only equivalent to the combat power of the tier 5 monster beast in front of them. The only advantage they had was that there was one more. 30 kilometers away, ZMO, who had been meditating with her eyes closed, suddenly opened them, a strange light flashing across her beautiful eyes. Lung Shan, who was standing not far behind her, was the same. Her pretty face was filled with surprise as she stared blankly in the direction of Yang Kai, her eyes filled with grief. At the same time, she also felt a sense of satisfaction and sadness. Jin Hao was her brother, and although he had previously agreed to Zimo's request, which made Lung Shan feel disgusted, a person dying was like a lamp going out. He would not come back to possess her, so there was no need to be so calculative. On the contrary, she herself was now alone, under the control of this temperamental woman from the Tianlang dynasty. Her future was uncertain. At the same time Jin Hao died, the two women had sensed it through different means. "Your brother is dead." Zimo slowly got up and glanced at Lung Shan. "Good." Lung Shan sneered. "Ha, indeed. What a useless man, he really disappointed me." Zimo smiled, her brow wrinkling. She pondered for a moment before continuing, "But he does have some means. Being able to kill him in such a short time, he really is a master." Saying so, Zimo's eyes lit up, as if she had discovered a novel toy, her pretty face filled with excitement. Even her breathing became somewhat rapid. With light steps, Zimo walked in the direction of Yang Kai. The dozens of monster beasts lying on the ground hurriedly stood up and followed Zimo's footsteps. Lung Shan glanced at them, not saying a word, and also followed. She knew that there was no possibility for her to escape. Not to mention the dozens of monster beasts she couldn't deal with. The thing that Zimo had planted in her body was enough to control her life and death. Yang Kai put away the blood bead that had condensed after Jin Hao's death and then turned to look at the fifth-order monster beast beside him. This was a Xianxia golden shadow leopard. It was quite majestic, with a robust body and a smooth body. Every muscle on its body contained a terrifying explosive power, and the claws on its four limbs were sharp enough to cut through 3 inches of steel. Yang Kai could feel that this fifth-order monster beast was much stronger than the ones he had killed a few days ago. It was probably at the mid-fifth order. It was equivalent to a Yuan Qi cultivator at the 5th or 6th stage. That being said, in a real fight, it definitely wouldn't be a match for a Yuan Qi cultivator at the 5th or 6th stage. A Yuan Qi cultivator at the 3rd or 6th stage was more than enough to kill it. What made Yang Kai slightly puzzled was not its strength, but its current state. There was always a feeling that he couldn't completely control it. This feeling was very strange. It was impossible for a beast-slave seal to behave like this. Moreover, this Xianxia golden shadow leopard was in a manic state at the moment, constantly shaking its head and wagging its tail while growling. "There's a problem." Yang Kai thought of the Tianlang dynasty cultivator's beast-slave seal and secretly speculated that it might have some kind of conflict with his own beast-slave seal. Walking forward, Zhang Xian comforted the Xianxia golden shadow leopard while placing his hand on its forehead. He secretly infused his origin energy into the Xianxia golden shadow leopard's body. Yuan Qi circled the Xianxia golden shadow leopard 5 or 6 times before Yang Kai finally found something wrong. Inside the Xianxia golden shadow leopard's head, there was another thing that was emitting fluctuations of life. Yang Kai was surprised. He looked deeply at the Xianxia golden shadow leopard, only to feel that it was getting more and more uncomfortable. The beast-slave seal that entered its body was fighting with this unknown thing for control of it. When 2 tigers fight, one is bound to be injured. No matter which side wins in the end, the Xianxia golden shadow leopard will be injured in the end. Frowning, Yang Kai increased the output of Yuan Qi. During the whole process, Yang Kai carefully controlled it, not daring to be too violent. This was because the Xianxia golden shadow leopard's monster core was inside. Once the monster core was damaged, this Xianxia golden shadow leopard would definitely die. Yang Kai waited until the Xianxia golden shadow leopard got used to it before he dared to increase the input of Yuan Qi. After 3 or 4 times, the thing in its head finally couldn't take it anymore and was rapidly drilling out. Noticing this, Yang Kai concentrated. He also wanted to know what method the Tianlang dynasty cultivator used to enslave the monster beast. 10 breaths later, A 3-inch-long worm suddenly drilled out of the Xianxia golden shadow leopard's forehead. Kai Yang's eyes were sharp, and his hands were fast enough to grab it. In a hurry, he saw that the worm looked like a centipede, but also like a locust. He didn't have time to see it clearly. This worm actually drilled into Yang Kai's body through his fingers. Yang Kai was stunned and hurriedly activated Yuan Qi. In the next moment, this worm was wrapped in the scorching hot true Yang Yuan Qi and was directly imprisoned in the meridians, unable to move. Frowning, Yang Kai didn't kill it. He could feel that this worm was very afraid of his true Yang Yuan Qi. If not for this, he wouldn't have forced it out of the Xianxia golden shadow leopard's body. Since the true Yang Yuan Qi was its nemesis, there was naturally nothing to worry about. Speaking of which, when he was in the hidden island, Yang Kai's body was drilled by the Heaven-devouring Great Emperor's worm, but the Heaven-devouring Great Emperor's worm was obviously much stronger than this one in front of him. He carefully felt it. The worm trembled in his meridians, not daring to make any rash movements. It was even more obedient than a mouse in front of a cat. There was an inexplicable energy flowing in the worm's body. It was very small and couldn't be detected without careful observation. "Old demon, look at this worm. What's strange?" Yang Kai frowned and shouted. The old demon responded and drilled into the soul breaker all to the place where the worm was imprisoned. After a long time he said, "Young master, this worm has the divine soul thread of that Tianlang kingdom cultivator." Divine soul thread? Yang Kai frowned. Aren't they only in the Yuan Qi realm? They haven't even cultivated divine sense. How did they do this? The old demon chuckled. "Young master, did you forget? You also have a divine soul thread imprinted on this old servant's body, but like them, you haven't cultivated divine sense." Yang Kai suddenly realized, "You mean, someone helped them?" The old demon said, "Exactly. I'm afraid it was an expert from their sect. They helped them imprint the divine soul thread into this worm, so they can control it as they wish. They control the worm drilled into the monster beast's body, so they can enslave the monster beast." Yang Kai's eyes lit up. The confusion in his heart was suddenly solved. A few days ago, Chen Shueshu had told Yang Kai that those people from the Tianlang kingdom all had hundreds of monster beast subordinates. He couldn't understand how those people could enslave so many monster beasts. Only now did he understand that what they controlled was not a monster beast, but this strange worm. Through this worm, they could command the monster beast's actions. Thinking about it, Yang Kai hurriedly went to the place where Jin Hao died and brushed aside the dust. Sure enough, as he guessed, he found an identical worm. Reaching out, he let the worm drill into his body. After the old demon examined it, he confirmed that this worm also had a divine soul thread imprinted on it. So Jin Hao wasn't colluding with the Tianlang kingdom's cultivator. Yang Kai muttered to himself. He was afraid that this worm had drilled into his body, so he had no choice but to collude with the Tianlang kingdom's cultivator. This could explain why the 3 monster beasts that came with him didn't listen to his orders. In a sense, Jin Hao and the 3 monster beasts had equal status. Although it was a bit sad to say this, but it was the truth. ZMO, Jin Hao just called out this name. Was the Tianlang kingdom's cultivator that controlled him called ZMO? Yang Kai's mind raced as a crazy idea came to mind. With a strange smile on his face, he asked, "Old demon, if I use true Yang Yuan Qi to burn this worm, the Tianlang kingdom's cultivator's divine soul will also be injured, right?" This is natural. Although there are only 2 divine soul threads, it can catch her off guard and cause her to suffer a great loss. Ha ha. Yang Kai couldn't help but laugh, his mind quickly turning over several plans that could be used. The old demon suddenly said, "Young master, this old servant has a suggestion." Ha ha ha. Oh? Let's hear it. As soon as Yang Kai heard his sinister laugh, he knew it was definitely not a good idea. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.